This Indianapolis 500 Betting Picks edition of the NASCAR Gambling Podcast here on the Sports Gambling Podcast Network is brought to you by Underdog Fantasy. You can win up to 100 times your entry with Underdog Fantasy Pick'em. Sign up with our promo code RACESGPN to claim your special pick and first-time deposit offer up to $250 in bonus cash. UnderdogFantasy.com, promo code RACESGPN. We're also brought to you by the Mega Memorial Merch Sale, 15% off of everything in the SGPN merch store with the promo code SGPNMAN.
Driver, start your engine!
Strap in and pull those belts up tight as the Sports Gambling Podcast Network presents the NASCAR Gambling Podcast.
I'll wreck my mom to win a championship. I'll wreck your mom to win a championship.
With all the news and the best bets for your NASCAR weekend.
It refrains me from not beating the out of you right now because you ask me stupid questions. But since I'm on probation, I suppose that's improper to say as well. If you could talk about racing things, we could talk about racing things.
Now, here are your hosts, Rod Villagomez and Cody Zeeb.
With fenders or without, there are always plenty of racing things to talk about. And of course, we are here on the NASCAR Gambling Podcast on the Sports Gambling Podcast Network. He's Cody Zeeb. I'm Rod Villagomez. As you can tell, this is not your normal everyday NASCAR Gambling Podcast. We have taken it upon ourselves to expand your knowledge and your fandom of racing and take you into open wheel world with the Indianapolis 500. We've done this for the last couple of seasons, Cody. We've been kind of successful on that one, and we just want to have some fun watching racing on this awesome weekend of racing.
Rod, as my friend James says in the chat, happy Monday. Welcome to the biggest week in motorsports. Happy Monday and welcome to the biggest week in motorsports. I'm pumped. I'm excited. I love this. It's a Monday, Rod. We have more IndyCar options than we've had in a long time. A lot of weeks we're struggling to get anything by the end of the week. There is a ton of props out there. Different things to talk about. We jam-packed this episode full of bets to give you because the Indy 500 only happens once a year. We only get this many options once a year for IndyCar. And so, yeah, we love to see it. We love talking IndyCar. Wish we could do it more if we could get a little help on the odds side of things, but very excited for this. If you're new to the show, stumbling across it because you're an IndyCar fan, or checking it out for the Indy 500 episode, welcome. We're glad to have you. And we're going to have a lot of fun today and hopefully give out quite a few winners.
Yeah, indeed. Now, reportedly, well, you'll know that we are not necessarily the all-out experts on the IndyCar series. We've been following it for Cody's been following it for a lot longer than I have. But over the last couple of seasons, we've gotten to know this series and we've gotten to embrace the series as well. Obviously, we're NASCAR guys. So if you're coming in here and you're an IndyCar fan and, we screw something up, don't torture us. Hopefully you stick around for the NASCAR episode to try to win a little money there because, listen, whatever racing it is, it's a gateway drug. I'm telling you right now. Like you love NASCAR, all of a sudden you get hooked on F1 and then you get hooked on Indy, then you start watching the motorcycles and it snowballs from there. Before you know it, you're hitting your friends up for whatever they can spare so you can buy yourself another hit of whatever motorsports racing you're trying to watch. But yeah, hopefully we just sort of get you into the mood to listen to the NASCAR part of it. Coke 600 is this weekend, like Cody said. Of course, we'll do the F1 Monaco episode later this week as well. So lots to talk about in the world of racing. If you're an Indy fan, hopefully we do this justice.
Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, I think that's a good point to make. We are NASCAR guys, right? But we watch IndyCar every single week. We've been betting on it for a couple of years as well. So I do feel like we have a pretty good thing. But hey, we're not necessarily complete IndyCar guys. So if we mess up a name or slip here or there, cut us a little bit of slack. I mean, you could probably go listen to the other podcasts talking about this, but they're few and far between, I think, Rod.
Yeah, you'll probably get done in about 10 minutes, so head over here anyways. But speaking of which, it is, of course, the biggest week in racing. It's the Indy 500, it's Monaco Grand Prix, and the Coke 600, all wrapped up in one amazing weekend. We're here, and we've got you covered all week long. Just make sure you listen to all the shows that we've got for you, and make sure you enter our Kyle Larson diecast car giveaway. If you already know, right? Kyle Larson pulling the double 1,100 miles this weekend between the Indy 500 and the Coke 600. They already held up the All-Star race for him to make sure he could get there and race. So we're hoping that doesn't have to happen for the Coke 600, that he can make it there. Now, listen, if he just jumps in the morning to Monaco and then goes to Indy and then goes to the Coke 600, that'd be something to say. But anyways, it's free to enter our contest. Make sure you go to sportsgamblingpodcast.com/race to register. All you got to do is pick the winner of the Indy 500, the Coke 600, and the Monaco GP. Obviously, without Max Verstappen, we're not going to make it that difficult for you. It's a free square. We're going to make it a little more hard for that. So make sure you subscribe to the NASCAR Gambling Podcast and, of course, the F1 Gambling Podcast. But more importantly, go enter the contest at sportsgamblingpodcast.com/race. Plus, we are running a mega Memorial Day merch sale, 15% off of everything in the merch store. Promo code SGP and May. Go grab yourself some Racing Gambling Podcast paraphernalia, be it a hoodie, be it a hat, be it a coffee mug, whatever it is you like. Do that. Be happy. Support the show, and look good while you're doing it.
Rod, Max only -143 to win Monaco this week. We got some stuff to talk about on the F1 Gambling Podcast. The world of F1. Maybe the tides are changing, or maybe you should go put the 401k on Max. I guess we'll have to find out.
Digging into the research, but I think that feels like it's a little too good to be true early in the week. But I mean, they did that last year with Monaco too. They put Max at a pretty reasonable number, and I think we gouged him at that one as well. So, all right. It is the Indy 500 from the Indianapolis Motor Speedway we are talking today. And really, obviously, the obvious tie-in to the NASCAR Gambling Podcast world is that Kyle Larson is pulling the double. Just like I said, he will be racing both the Indianapolis 500 in the morning. He will probably jump on a helicopter to jump on a plane to jump back on a helicopter, or maybe scientists are hard at work this week trying to get teleportation to work so that they can get Kyle Larson from one track to the next in the blink of an eye. You could thank Kyle Larson for the next time that you have to teleport somewhere instead, because they'll probably do that for him. Anyway,
Yes.
He will be racing. So that's why this is sort of a natural tie-in for us.
Yeah, absolutely. It makes it great. And if you are, one of our just regular NASCAR listeners and you haven't really checked out IndyCar too much or whatever, first of all, you should be watching IndyCar every week because it's very exciting racing on a week-to-week basis. Again, they do street courses, they do road courses, they do ovals as well. You get a good combination of everything, and it's great racing week in and week out. This race obviously draws a lot of eyes. It'll be a good one to watch, but make sure you tune back in, for the next event as well. Rod Larson is the sixth different driver to attempt the double at the Indy 500 and the Coke 600 here. And it has been actually done. Do you know how many times it's been done? He'll be the sixth driver, but do you know how many times the double's been done?
So out of six drivers, I'm going to have to say it's successfully been done 3 times.
Well, it's successfully been done by 5 drivers, but actually it's been done 11 times. Thank you, Robbie Gordon. Robbie Gordon did it 5 times, Rod.
My God. What?
Yeah. Robbie Gordon was the man when it came to this. Maybe not so much in the results section, but that's how it goes. John Andretti, rest in peace to him. He's the one who started it all off in 1994, finished 10th at Indy, 36th at Charlotte. Davy Jones tried 95, did not qualify for the Coke 600, unfortunately. But Tony Stewart, 2001, Rod, he had a 6th place finish at Indy, 3rd place in the Coke 600. So that's kind of the bar that I think that Kyle Larson will be shooting for to try and top what Tony did. Obviously, Tony had raced in the IndyCar world and had experience over there. This will be Larson's first race with those guys.
Yeah, but you can't tell. I mean, the dude qualifies right on the second row and what, 6th place, 7th place? It's just, man.
Yeah, he'll be starting in 5th place, I think it is. So, it's we'll get into it more as we get on, but it's going to be really exciting. And again, watching the whole thing unfold and seeing, for us, the NASCAR guy go into the IndyCar, and then for the IndyCar fans, seeing a guy that's running in their, most prestigious race ever, really, and then jumping into a NASCAR car after that is exciting. And we already got a little bit of a taste of it this past weekend. I mean, just with qualifying and then the All-Star race was really fun to watch. So very excited for Sunday.
Yeah, he had to start from the back in that All-Star race, drove himself up to a 5th place finish in that, and very well had the opportunity to try to grab that win at the end. We are set for 200 miles around this 2.500 mile paved track for 500 miles, hence the Indianapolis 500. Joseph Newgarden, the defending winner of this race, in an exciting fashion, drinking that milk. Team Penske starting on the front row, lock out of that. So lots to talk about, lots of bets to get to, and we will get to all of those, Cody. I'm excited to get to the bets. Can you tell? I really want to get there because I feel like we got a lot of good ones to cover. Let's do it. But let's first talk about Underdog Fantasy. Underdog Fantasy. We love us some Underdog Fantasy, and you should too. Tell you right now, we have played Underdog Fantasy successfully for many, many weeks in the NASCAR world. And of course, for IndyCar, they've got that as well. So follow us along for that as well. Plus, the NBA playoffs are here. And our sponsor, Underdog Fantasy, wants to make it a lot more interesting because Underdog Fantasy is the easiest place to play fantasy sports. Playing their pick'em game is as simple as selecting higher or lower on player stats like points, rebounds, assists, and so much more. And of course, in the world of racing, it's better than or worse than the finishing position of the driver, the projected finishing position of that driver. You can make entries of just all basketball if that's what you're into, or mix and match across sports just like racing or baseball or esports or hockey. There's still hockey going on, even though the Avalanche friggin' lost it. But whatever, you can still play along with your favorite team on Underdog Fantasy. If you're a new customer, you're going to get a pick'em special in the lobby when you sign up. So make sure you're doing that. Plus, Underdog is going to be running a ton of different promos. They got bonus cash airdrops, specials, giveaways, and more throughout the NBA playoffs. So make sure to follow @UnderdogPicks on Twitter to keep an eye out. Underdog's also available in 30 and more states, including California, Texas, and Canada. They also just launched Champions, their player versus player format in Florida. You want to sign up right now? Use the promo code RACESGPN to claim that special pick and a first-time deposit offer up to $250 in bonus cash. UnderdogFantasy.com, promo code RACESGPN. All right, Cody. So it is, like we said, the Indianapolis 500. The front row, now, if you're a NASCAR fan and you're looking at these qualifying and you're looking at the starting grid and you're like, 3 cars? The hell, yes, 3 cars start the rows, right? It's a 3-car front row, 3-car second row, on back, all the way to the back. So don't let that throw you. That's the way it is. So when we talk about starting in the front row, we literally mean starting in the front row. And it's Scott McLaughlin, it's Will Power, it's Joseph Newgarden, all Team Penske. And that's an amazing feat for those guys.
Yeah, Team Penske sweeps row 1. They're definitely going to be tough this week, Rod. But I think there's some guys out there that definitely have the potential. It will be interesting to kind of see, what they do at the beginning of this race. If they kind of exchange the lead, we know from watching this race previously, you don't really want to lead a ton early at Indy. You want to kind of save that fuel and sit back in there in second. So it'll be interesting to see what their strategy is and how long they can keep those 3 Penske Chevys up front.
Indeed. All right, Cody, let's start filling out our betting card for the Indy 500.
Let's do it, Rod. I'm actually going to do things a little different than we do on the NASCAR side. I'm going to start with the car lift bet. If you're new to the show, again, we get some different listeners for this type of thing. It's like a ladder in football, right? You climb the ladder on the bets. We call it the car lift over here because it's a lot more fun. Shout out to our guy, JDK, for helping us with that name. But, Rod, can't think of a guy I would like to do the car lift more than Scott Dixon. So we're going to take Scott Dixon, top 10 finish, minus 120 over on BetMGM. Top 5 finish, plus 275 over on BetMGM. Top 3 finish, plus 450 over on DraftKings. You're going to get the best number there. And Rod, we're going to take this car lift all the way to the top, 20-1 to win over on BetMGM for Scott Dixon. He won this race in 2008, six-time champion of the sport. He's been around a long time. Only one IndyCar or Indy 500 win, Rod. Should have won this race in 2022, though. Dominating performance. He was up front. Speeding, entering pit road, ruins the day, and unfortunately, it ends everything for him there. So he's actually the most recent oval race winner. It might be a little surprising because of how much Joseph Newgarden has won, but he did win the race at Gateway at the end of the season last year, and really opens up the season. He's already got to win the season and showing that he can do Scott Dixon type things. And I know that a lot of the argument's going to be, well, it's going to be really hard to beat Penske. It's going to be really hard to beat Arrow McLaren. And I get that. It is, but it's not going to be impossible by any means. And I think that these Chip Ganassi Hondas are going to be just fine when we get into race trim. Again, a 4-lap, just balls to the wall by yourself out there. It's great. It's impressive and it's fun, but it doesn't necessarily mean once it gets into the race that's going to be the end-all, be-all for sure. So I think you're getting really good numbers here on Dixon. I mean, just a top 10 alone for Dixon. He doesn't finish outside the top 10 very often, Rod. So I think that's a great place to start. And then you're just kind of walking the ladder up there with the top 5, the top 3. Maybe he can even pull it off and win this race at 20-1 over on BetMGM. It's a great number for Scott Dixon. And this kind of feels like one of those races where, last year going into it, I think he was one of the favorites, and it's like, we should have won this race, in the year before in 2022, and then all the hype. Now there's no hype and everything's really kind of quiet. I like to bet on a guy like that, Rod, especially a guy experienced like Scott Dixon here, because I think he's gonna show up and have a good day. Again, top 10 I think is going to be fairly easy for him if he stays out of trouble. And then we're riding this car lift all the way to the top, and hopefully we can cash all these bets.
Yep. I mean, for sure, he's got some work to do. And he's definitely the guy that can do it. I mean, Scott Dixon, one of those old wily vets that can find his way to the front. And it doesn't really matter. We kind of talked about this in the Discord too, the prestige of starting in the front row, the prestige of winning. Now, I will also say that the winners have come from the first 2 rows more than they haven't over the last few years. But
which makes sense, right? Obviously.
Yeah. Yeah. But there's still Newgarden that started 17th and won last year. So it could be done.
We've had plenty of guys come from farther back in the field and win this. So starting spot's important for sure, and track position's always important in racing, but I'm not super concerned about guys starting farther back.
Yep, me either. However, I am going to be giving a lot of guys starting in the front because it just tends to be the kind of guys that do it. Now, speaking of that, we're getting a all to finish inside of the top 5 bet here on Caesars. So let me just load up on some guys that are already in the top 5 starting from the front. We're going to get Palou. We're going to get Newgarden. We're going to get Larson, all in the top 5. This is at 5-1. Already, these guys are all starting within the top 5. We got, two of the 3 guys are starting in the top 5. We got Joseph Newgarden starting in 3rd. We got Kyle Larson starting in 5th. Alex Palou, he actually does have some work to do. He's going to be starting in 14th. However, let's turn our attention back to the 2023 IndyCar Series, in which Palou won 5 races. He did not finish outside of the top 10 all season long. Let me stop. Let me say that again. He did not finish outside of the top 10 all season long. In 17 races, he had 10 podium finishes. I mean, you got to let that sink in. 10. He only missed the podium on 7 different occasions in the course of the entire season, up to and including tracks that are traditionally on the NASCAR circuit, the oval circuits, right? I mean, it's so crazy to think of how successful he was all season long. Wins at Detroit, Elkhart Lake, Mid-Ohio, Portland, Indy GP. He started on the pole, actually, in the Indianapolis 500 last season, ended up finishing 4th. So he still had a top 5 finish there. So again, Alex Palou, just a dominant guy altogether. On this track in particular, on Indy, he's done well. But I will say that this season is a lot like last season, right? Palou has a string of top 5 finishes. He has not finished outside of the top 5 at all this season. Started out with a 4th place at St. Petersburg, 3rd place at Long Beach, 5th at Birmingham, and then won the Indy GP last week. Not a whole lot more needs to be said about Alex Palou on this track. Joseph Newgarden, obviously the defending winner, starting in the front row, like I said before, and he's going to be a factor all day long. He's starting third, and Newgarden on these ovals, we know, right, is a force to be reckoned with. He's one of the guys that wins at ovals more than he doesn't. And in the Indy 500 itself, or at least on the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, he's got 2 podiums in his career. He won last year, right? He got a 5th place finish in 2020, a 4th place finish in 2019, 3rd in 2016. So he's no stranger to the top 5 in this race in particular. And like we said, ovals are just his thing. The only thing that gives you pause in this is that so far this season, it's been rough for him. He's literally only had 1 top 5 finish this season. And that was at Long Beach.
Well, I mean, yeah, there was that race where he won and then didn't win. So,
well, that is exactly it too, right? So, I mean, you gotta take that away from him as well. But look, all I'm saying is we know how dominant Newgarden has been on ovals, especially last season. So for him to get in the top 5, not very difficult. Kyle Larson, he's starting 5th. This guy is going to be ballsing out all day long. I think he stays 5th. I think he's probably no higher than a 5th, maybe 4th, if that. But I think he's going to play the right strategy. They got nothing to lose. They're not running for points. They're not running for anything other than prestige. They're starting toward the front. He should be able to stay toward the front. I mean, he's not in that bad of a ride, right? I mean, the dude's in Arrow McLaren equipment, right? That 17 Chevy, it looks kind of familiar on him. So I expect him to hold serve. I expect him to be kind of where he starts and put those with the 2 perennial top 5 guys in every track that you go to in IndyCar. At 5-1, this feels like a steal.
Yeah, I like it. You're gonna need the chalk to hit, right? But getting at 5-1, I think it's a good value for you, Rob.
Well, again, when we talked, it's like an Xfinity Series when we were talking about Brendan Queen, right? Or Truck Series rather, talk about Brendan Queen getting a top 5 finish, and that was 11-1. Like that was, and he did it because driving a good equipment, he kept it where he needed to keep it, and I think that's exactly what Kyle Larson is going to do. Myron Kidd saying, hate to be that guy. In my opinion, the Indy 500 bigger than the Daytona 500, at least the pageantry wise.
It is. I mean, it's the biggest race in the world. There's no arguing that. So we're not gonna argue it. Obviously, we love the Daytona 500. We love the Indy 500. We love all the races, Rod. We don't discriminate against any races.
Well, and then you think of it this way too. This is the 108th running of this race. So you want to talk about the prestige that comes with it. Like
it's been around for a couple of years.
Yeah, 1 or 2, right? They did Daytona 500.
Done this race a couple times.
Daytona 500 is still an infant compared.
We're still at like 60 in the 500. So that's how it goes.
The Indy 500 is bouncing the Daytona 500 on his knee, talking about back in my day. So, all right, let's continue the bets. But first, I want to tell you about our new friends over at Rhythm. Right, Rhythm. If you're betting on NBA player props, then you need to download Rhythm. Rhythm gives you a menu of the best player props for every single NBA playoff game, making it easy to go through and find the best props to put your money on in seconds. Rhythm's predictions are backed by over 3 years of data and a team of data scientists and quants that focus on fine-tuning our algorithm to give you the best shot at winning. Rhythm pairs its predictions with player prop graphs to help you feel even more confident in your picks, which you can make whenever you normally place your DFS bets or picks. From superstars to bench players, Rhythm finds the best player prop lines, all backed by AI data without you needing to endlessly scroll a sportsbook. Rhythm also allows you to create your own custom NBA models so you can get an AI-backed moneyline spread and total picks for every playoff game. Start your free 7-day trial and start winning with your NBA player props with Rhythm, available wherever you get your apps. All right, Cody, where are we going next?
Yeah, next up, Rod, I'm actually going to go to Connor Daly. Something we like to do over in the NASCAR betting part of things is make sure you're looking all up and down the grid. And so I like this. I've got a couple of ways to get in on Connor Daly. I'm going to toss in a top 10 here because it's 5-1, Rod. And I kind of like that for Daly. So Indiana kid, right? His father was a F1 racer. His stepfather is actually the president of the track there at Indianapolis. So you love to see that. And actually, Rod, he's not a stranger to the top 10 by any means. 8th place last season for him, 6th place in 2022, 13th in 2021. That's not very far outside of the top 10. 10th place back in 2019 as well. So no stranger to the top 10. Getting him at 5-1, I think, is really good odds there. And then, Rod, I found a group over on Caesars there, Group D, and Connor Daly is plus 260 in this one. So it's Kiffin Simpson, it's Romain Grosjean, and it's Rahal. So we're going to take Daly to win that group at plus 260. And here's kind of what you're looking at as far as the competition goes. Kiffin Simpson's a rookie, so pretty hard to look back and see what he's done here before, Rod, because we don't know. He's in a Chip Ganassi Honda, so that's good. Should be a good car for him, but what does he do? He's obviously going to be the wild card for sure in here. Romain Grosjean, not good in the Indy 500 so far. Things could change, of course, but 30th and 31st, some of that's bad luck, but yeah, bad luck. Sometimes it continues to go. So those are his two starts, 30th and 31st. So Daly has beat him both times that Grosjean has started. And then when it comes to Rahal, 4 of the last 5, Connor Daly has beat Graham Rahal, Rod. So I really like him to win this group, actually a lot. At plus 260, I think you're getting a good number. 4 out of 5 beating Rahal, that's a really good number. I'll take that batting percentage there. Grosjean, he's 2 for 2, and Grosjean's results have been absolutely horrid. And then Kiffin Simpson is definitely the wild card in here because we just don't know what to expect from him. But as we're probably going to talk about with Larson here in a few minutes, being a rookie in the Indy 500, rookies won it before. We've seen it, right? But it's definitely a tall task, and there's a lot of pressure and a lot of stuff going on. So, and we saw a rookie was the one guy who missed the race as well. So, I like Connor Daly to win Group D. Doesn't get very many opportunities, or at least isn't getting very many opportunities right now. I think this may be the only ride he's got booked so far this season. So all these guys are obviously going to put extra into it because it is the Indy 500. But I think it means even more to him as an Indianapolis kid, his stepfather being the president of the track, all of that. I'm a fan of him. Love listening to his podcast every week and everything as well. And this is one of those races where you can. I got a big fan bet coming in a little bit, Rod. But the statistics are there to back it up as well. So give me Connor Daly to win Group D over Kiffin Simpson, Romain Grosjean, and Graham Rahal plus 260, and his top 10 number at 5-1.
Yeah, I mean, you looked at just qualifying in general, and Rahal struggles. You're right with the rookie. Like it's tough, but Connor Daly, I think, should put together a good ride. So I'll ride you on that one. I love that they got top 10 odds too for this as well. Yes. I wish that I'd have found a way to get in on one better, but yeah.
We just again, in normal IndyCar weeks, like top 3 is usually all we get, and top 3s are fine and they're great, but top 10 opens up so many other possibilities and such big value things because you get a guy like that at 5-1. He's only got to beat 23 other guys. That's not that many in the grand scheme of things. And in a top 10 is a lot easier for him. Top 3, not impossible, but you really got to push hard for something like that. Top 10, much more achievable type of thing. And you're still getting a great number of 5-1.
Indeed. Speaking about a good number for top Honda, I'm going to go with Alex Palou. Talked about him just a second ago in the first block of this, but his number to be the top Honda is plus 330. I mean, look, I get it. I know that it's not an easy feat, but at the same time, it's like Alex Palou was the fastest car last year, right? They started on the pole, ended up finishing 4th. Surprisingly enough, he was not the top Honda in that race. That honor belonged to Marcus Ericsson, who came from 10th place. And ended up, he led 30 laps, did Marcus Ericsson in that one. Palou led 36. So again, both of these guys right up there for the top Honda. So it was Palou's Honda. And then in the 2022 Indianapolis 500, Alex Palou was not the top Honda. In fact, he was in 9th place, way down in that one. But he did start 2nd, which means he had the speed to do it. We talked about the fact that Alex Palou was starting kind of deeper in the field than we expect him to. He's starting on the 14th, so he's starting in row 5. But row 5 is not that hard for Alex Palou to make a few moves here and there to get into the top Honda. I'm going only back 3 years. I'm not only going to go back to the 2021 Honda. Alex Palou was the runner-up in that race. He was the 2nd fastest Honda to Helio Castroneves. I mean, Castroneves is back in this race, but he's marred way back in traffic this weekend. He's going to be starting deep in the field, and boy, he's starting 20th in row 7 around Dixon and Andretti. So hopefully Dixon can stay out of trouble, because the guys in front of him are Kiffin Simpson, Ed Carpenter, Marcus Armstrong, Callum Illiott, right? Colton Herta, okay, but yeah, Hunter Ray, Kyle Kirkwood, Takuma Sato, like there's a lot of guys that can mix that up in front of him. So that's gonna be tough for him to do. Therefore, I think Pallot's got a good shot at doing that. Plus 330 for Pallot. That's a good number for a guy that can get it done and has the potential to even win this race at some point. So I think that's a good number for him to be the top Honda. I'm also going to toss in Marcus Ericsson. Marcus Ericsson's at 28-1 as top Honda. Now, okay, I completely 1000% know that he's starting in row 11, right? Almost missed this thing. We were thinking the other day, is Ericsson going to miss this? He put together a hell of a lap with literally seconds on the board. Well, okay, minutes, a couple of minutes on the board. But if it weren't for that last lap, he may not have made this race. You want to talk about motivation to get to the front? Marcus Ericsson doesn't need any more motivation than that. He's starting 32nd. He's going to try to tear ass to get to the front of this race and potentially try to win this thing, because he did it already. He's done it once before. So at 28-1, as talented of a driver as he is, I'll take that all day long for top Honda, given that he's done it a couple of years already. So yeah, I like that number for him, 28-1. And I also like taking Pallot at plus 330 to be the top Honda as well.
Yeah, I don't have too many arguments here. I did want to see what's Scott Dixon's plus 420, Rod. Okay, you talked me into it. We're going to add Scott Dixon, top Honda, plus 420 over on the car lift there. So, go back and fill out your bingo card with that part of it. As far as Pallot and Ericsson go, Rod, I've actually got thoughts on both of these guys coming up. So I'm going to save my talking points on them for when we get to my bets on these two guys.
Beautiful. What's next then?
Next up for me, Rod, Santonio Ferrucci, top 10 finish, minus 125 over on Caesars. This is juiced up a little bit more. Some other places I would probably get in on this sooner rather than later. Rod, Ferrucci has started in 5 IndyCar 500s. He is batting one. Did I just say IndyCar 500?
I mean, it's true, right?
It's late, but yes, he started in 5 Indy 500s, Rod. 1,000% batting percentage for top 10s, 5 for 5 finishing inside the top 10. Sounds like a pretty good hitting average to me, Rod. I don't see why the streak would end this week. Ferrucci, I mean, 3rd place last season, 10th the year before, 6th, 4th, 7th in 2019 in his first start. He has shown up and continued to just get it done time and time again in the Indy 500. He's one of these guys I wouldn't be surprised if he's kind of a guy to pop up and win this race. It wouldn't shock me that much. It wouldn't be very popular. I know he's not a very popular guy in the IndyCar circles there, but Santonio Ferrucci shows up in these Indy 500s, 5 for 5, and he's only minus 125, Rod. Yes, please. Sign me up for the top 10 there. Then also Takuma Sato. I like his top 10 as well, plus 140. He's won the thing twice, 2017 and 2020. 7th place last season, and he's actually been top 10 in 3 of the last 5 Indy 500s that he's run, Rod. I believe this is the only race he's running this season. Last year he only did ovals. Obviously, he's seems to be a little bit better at those. And guys, was actually a pretty big long shot a couple of years ago in 2020 when he won the thing. So we know he can pull off crazy feats like that. But he's been running this race for a long time. He's been very successful in it. Plus 140, I think, is a good number. So a lot of top 10s that I like out here this week, Rod.
And I mean, he's already got the benefit of starting from that 10th position. He is the highest qualifying Raham Letterman driver. It's crazy. It's so crazy to think because, you got obviously Ray Hall in there. You've got guys like Christian Lundgaard. You got Pietro Fittipaldi. Like he qualified better than all.
And you bring in, the guy who's running a one-off race and he's the fastest. It's crazy.
Yeah, you got to love it. But I do love that. I'm glad you got in on him because I wanted to find a way, and I think the top 10 is the best way to get in on that. Speaking of guys that are starting somewhere near where I think they're going to finish, let's talk about Alexander Rossi. You want to talk about a throwdown lap, right? I think he came out first in the Fast 6 and just basically set the blistering pace that he did. And I thought for sure that was going to be it. 233.090 for Alexander Rossi, who, essentially laid down the gauntlet in that instance before all the Penske drivers decided they wanted to come out, tape their foot to the floor and get it done. But Rossi's top 5 number is actually at plus 130. Now, he's not the sexiest of names right now. There's a lot of people that obviously eclipse him when it comes to popularity, but Alexander Rossi's quietly finished 5th place in both of the last 2 Indy 500s that he's been in. In 2022, he started 20th and finished 5th. In 2023, he started 7th and finished 5th. He even led 4 laps in the race as well. So Rossi sneakily doing it for you on Indy 2 out of the last 2 years. And, I guess if you put that in batting average, 2 out of 2 is 1,000 as well. But this season's not necessarily been all that bad for him either. He had some mechanical issues that took him out of Birmingham, but he did finish 6th at St. Petersburg, 10th in Long Beach, 8th in Indy GP. Again, not the sexiest of Arrow McLaren drivers this week. Obviously, there's a newer, shinier toy sitting right next to him, and that's his teammate, Kyle Larson, for this week at the very least. But don't count Rossi out. Don't count the veteran out that has been in the sport while Kyle's just making an appearance. I think Rossi's got the car. He's got the speed to be able to keep it in the top 5. And I think at the end of the day, you're getting plus money at a guy that's done it 2 out of the last 2 years. I think I'll take that.
Yeah, I like it. No arguments from me here. I think you're getting a good number at plus 130. All right, Rod, next up for me, I'm going to take a page out of your playbook and go with the car number of the race winner. These are always fun to do because it gives you different options, right? If maybe your outright got wrecked out or isn't running well or whatever the case may be on some of your other bets, you're probably going to have somebody in the mix at the end of this thing that's with a car number that's odd. So I'm going to take odd, minus 108. Even is the favorite of things. You got guys like Joseph Newgarden, obviously, Will Power, Alex Palou, all on the even side of things. But I'm going to take winning car number of the race. Yeah, whatever. Car number of the race winner, odd at minus 108, Rod. I like this because you're getting a lot of good options here. You get Scott McLaughlin, the pole sitter. I'm pulling for him. I'm a big Scotty Mac fan. The Indy 500 hasn't treated him greatly, but if he can get it done, this is a great way to be in on him. Pato O'Ward, who you wait, no, you just got done with Rossi. That's the next guy on my list. I'm getting ahead of myself here. But Pato O'Ward has had a lot of success. Alexander Rossi, who you just got done talking about. Scott Dixon, who I've already talked about. Marcus Armstrong is tossed in there. Graham Rahal's tossed in there. Some guy named Kyle Larson, Rod. Another good way to kind of cover yourself with Kyle Larson. So I like that. You get VK. You get Hunter Ray. Kyle Kirkwood. He could be a little bit of a wild card. Rasmussen, Stingray Robb, Lundgaard, Leggett, Grosjean. That's obviously you're getting a little farther out of there. But you're getting at the top of the board, obviously, is kind of where you're really banging on this. With Scott McLaughlin, Pato O'Ward, Alexander Rossi, Scott Dixon, Kyle Larson. I love having that group of guys taking this bet to the very end for me and give me a chance at minus 108. So give me the car number of the race winner as an odd number at minus 108.
Well, obviously, car numbers and me are all about being fun, so I like it. Because, again, it gives you a heavy-hitting bunch of guys, and for not really that much juice. Minus 108 is literally like nothing. It's almost even money anyways for you, so yeah, definitely give me that as well. You talked about Ferrucci here in a second, although my brother did bring up Rossi. Genuinely likes Rossi. Kyle will smoke him. He's probably going to be a very fast car. Both of them are going to be running around each other a lot, I'm sure, because the draft does play a part in Indy, believe it or not. So they're going to be trying to draft each other. Yeah. So I'm sure we'll see them together for a little while as well. But you talked about Santino Ferrucci there earlier. I'm going to take him to win Group B over on Caesars at plus 230. Group B consists of the following. Ferrucci is the favorite to do this. And when I first jumped into this, I kind of wanted to take Takuma Sato, right, at plus 450. I thought, I can make a case for him. He's starting 10th. He's going to be doing well. But I liked Ferrucci's speed in that Fast 6. I was really impressed with the way he looked. So I'm kind of going ahead and lead in Ferrucci's favor. The other people in this group are Kyle Kirkwood at plus 300. You get Felix Rosenquist at plus 350. Again, Sato at 450, and then Castroneves at plus 650. We talked about Castroneves earlier in this. He's starting way back in the back. A little bit tough for a guy like that starting 20th when he doesn't.
I wouldn't count him out, Rod. He's looking for number 5.
I know he is, but he's been looking for 5 for a while. So I don't know that long enough. But I'm not necessarily all that scared by Castroneves. You think of what he's done in the last few races, right? He did win in 2021. I get it. But he's been looking for 5 for a couple of seasons. 7th place in 2022. That's pretty good. 15th place in 2023. But again, he started 20th in that one and finished in 15th. 27th, though, in 2022 and finished 7th. So he can probably move up. But again, I'm picking a guy that's starting toward the front because we've seen these guys win these races more often than not, and they stay around where they start. Starting positions kind of clutch in this because more often than not, the guys that start up front stay up front. Kyle Kirkwood on Indianapolis Motor Speedway crashed out of last year's race, finished 28th. That was a pretty impressive crash too. And then in 2022, started 28th, finished 17th. Not necessarily all that scared off by Kyle Kirkwood. And we talked about Sato. He's starting 10th. He may be able to hang on to a top 10 finish. But again, I really do believe that Ferrucci is going to be somewhere inside of the top 5. And so I really do like this bet. As far as Felix Rosenqvist is concerned, I don't know that I can really make a very strong case for Felix Rosenqvist. He's got five starts on this track, 28th, 12th, 27th. Did have a 4th place in 2022, so good job for him. But his Arrow McLaren, he started on 3rd place, started the front row of last year's race and ended up crashing out after leading 33 laps. But this is not a fun track for him. He doesn't have a lot of fun on this track. So yeah, give me Ferrucci to win this group at plus 320 or plus 230 rather. Dyslexic.
A little dyslexic. It's okay. There's a couple of guys, Sato, I made the case for his top 10. And Castroneves, I think could scare you a little bit, but I do like this. I talked about Ferrucci a few minutes ago, 5 for 5, finishing inside the top 10. You expect that's where he's going to be at the end of the day. And I think that can get it done. So I do like him to win this group as well, Rod. If you're going to bet on races, you're going to bet on big events, I think it's always good to bet on some rooting interest, right? Something you want to see happen, and maybe even more so something you don't want to miss out on betting if it happens. So we're going to take and parlay Kyle Larson to win the Indy 500 and the Coca-Cola 600 over on Caesars. It gives you 40-1, basically. It's plus 40-25, Rod. So 40-1 for him to win both races. Rod, is Kyle Larson going to win both of these races? No, he's not. It's very unrealistic for it to happen. It would be very difficult for him to do. But, Rod, if it happens and I don't have $5 or $10 on it at 40-1, I will forever hate myself. So I'm getting in on it because here's the thing. Kyle Larson is capable of doing it, and I think that's important to note. Would it be absolutely insane for him to come into the Indy 500, having never raced an IndyCar before, and just win this race? Yes, it would. But, Rod, he's the greatest race car driver on the entire planet right now, and there is no one that you can argue against him. There was they played on the NASCAR All-Star race the other night, that video of Mario Andretti, and really, Kyle Larson is kind of today's Mario Andretti. Is he to that level yet? Maybe not quite yet, right? But dude gets in anything, anywhere, fast. He's good. He tries new things all the time. Jumps in a dirt late model for the first time, goes out, kicks everybody's ass. He's in sprint cars all the time. I mean, everywhere he goes, he's good, he's fast, and he's talented. He's already proven it throughout this whole entire couple of weeks leading up to this. He's tested fast. He set the rookie qualifying record for speed. He's done well in the practices. Now, when we get into the race, it's going to be different. He's never raced in an IndyCar race. He's never raced these open wheel cars like this. Could that cause issues? Yes. Do we see him beat Checkers or Wreckers in the NASCAR Cup Series? Absolutely. So maybe he doesn't even finish this race, Rod. I think that is possible. I think a top 10 is possible. I think 20th is possible. I think winning this race. I think any outcome, I really wouldn't be that surprised from Kyle Larson, but I wouldn't be shocked if he gets it done. Now, he's only plus 650 to win. It's a little short. Now, if you listen to our offseason episode when we broke down IndyCar odds during the offseason, We got him at 20-1 there. So I am holding that ticket. Hopefully you are too. And if you're going to bet him at plus 650, Rod, I'd rather take him at Top Chevy at plus 550. Guards you in case a Honda wins and he ends up being, second or third or whatever, and he ends up being the top Chevy. Might be a better way to play it, just tossing that out there. But I'm going to take him to win both at 40-1. He is the favorite in the Cup Series race, to nobody's surprise. Of course, we know he's going to be good there. So I think you got to throw something on it, because if it hits, you're going to want to say you had that ticket, if nothing else, Rod. So 40-1, you can parlay that over on Caesars. I think BetMGM lets you parlay winners as well. I don't know if other places do as much, but and MGM doesn't have NASCAR odds up yet. But you can get it right now, 40-1 on Caesars if you parlay them. Then also, I'm going to toss out Christian Lundgaard, top 10 at 4-1. Rod, I don't really have a lot of statistics to back this up, but I am a huge Christian Lundgaard fan. Absolutely love this guy. 18th and 19th in his first two starts, so it needs to work on it a little bit, right? But he's been 6th and 3rd in the last two races so far this season. We saw him get a win last season in Toronto, and it's not been on the ovals. The oval results definitely haven't been there. So, I mean, honestly, I don't have a lot of statistics to back up Lundgaard here, but it's something I'm going to be rooting for. We've seen where sometimes these, races in Indy can turn into fuel mileage, or maybe we end up getting some wrecks. Maybe a strategy play gets him up there, whatever the case is. Just to have to get in the top 10 at 4-1 for a guy that I'm going to be rooting for to have a good day and would love to see it. And 18th and 19th, you're not that far out of the top 10. It's not crazy to think he could improve a little more. So give me some Christian Lundgaard top 10 at 4-1.
Well, like you said, you're going to want to cheer for it, so you're going to pick it. And I for Kyle Larson's concerned, and look, I think we're kind of done talking about him, because obviously we're going to go, well, yeah, we're done talking about him for the most part. But I will say that here's the thing for Kyle Larson, and my brother kind of said that. I think he meant to say best driver around right now, Kyle Larson, best ever. Kyle, I just got punched by Ricky Stenhouse-Busch, and God help me, he hates KB. He really does too. But okay, I got glanced at by Ricky Stenhouse's right cross. That's what I am, Kyle Busch. But look, for Kyle Larson, you gotta know obviously that he's out there and going to be having the time of his life. I mean, he just went from going 230 some miles an hour to 100 and something in North Wilkesboro. He's going to have the opportunity to go from 200 and some odd miles to a big, expansive Charlotte Motor Speedway, right? I mean, this is 600 miles of grueling NASCAR, just racing and bumping and beating. And look, for Kyle Larson, this is probably just going to be a dream come true for him. So he's going to ride out the moment, whatever that means to Kyle Larson. So you got to, as a NASCAR fan, you're going to love rooting for him. As an IndyCar fan, you're going to love to get to know him if you haven't watched him already. So it's going to be a lot of fun. So definitely want to have rooting interest in Kyle Larson this week. Obviously, he's not on my card, but I do believe, other than the top 5, but I do believe this will be a good week for him to show out.
Yeah.
All right.
One quick note too, just on the Kyle Larson thing. There has been a lot of bad weather here in the Midwest lately, Rod. There is some chances, decent chances on Sunday. From what I've heard, the 600 is the priority. So if the Indy 500 is delayed, I wouldn't be shocked to see Tony Kanaan maybe get in that car and end up driving in that race. So something to keep in mind when you go to place those bets. Maybe check the rules for the book. If you're super concerned about not getting your money back, if they're not going to avoid it, you may wait until we get closer to Sunday and have a little bit of a better picture. But I just wanted to toss that note out there because it sounds like he's said that the 600 is the priority. Obviously, he's the points leader in the NASCAR Cup Series right now, and needs to start every race. So if it were to come down to that and the race is delayed, I believe Tony Kanaan is the backup plan.
Yeah, I mean, I'd hate to see that happen after all the buildup, but
it would suck so bad. But the possibility exists, so needs to be tossed out there.
Yeah, I agree. All right, I'm going to go a couple different directions with my next bet. I'm going to take a winning car number because I couldn't let Cody have all the fun of a winning car number, and I'm going to take the winning car number under 5.5 at plus money. Holy junk, plus 190 for the winning car number under 9.5. Let me set the stage from you this, Hal. All right. The winning car positions, the starting position of the winning cars over the last few years, 21 times it's come from the first position. 21 pole holders have won the Indianapolis 500. 11 times the second place car has. 13 times the third car has. The next from that, the fourth place car with 7, fifth, 7. No other starting position has double-digit wins in the Indianapolis 500 other than the front row. So, who's starting in the front row, you ask, Rod? Well, Scott McLaughlin in the number 3 car, who literally had a rocket ship. I'm surprised they didn't check it for rocket fuel. That those thirsty threes, they weren't thirsty after that pole. They were drinking all of what's about to be the next milk for him. So 234.220, the fastest qualifying speed ever. Now, will he carry that into the race? I don't know, but damn it all, if he doesn't have a good shot to do it, right? So Scott McLaughlin right there in first place is the number 3 car. Then you move over to the third place car, right? That's Joseph Newgarden. And if you're keeping score, the third place car has the second most wins in the Indianapolis 500. So it's 21 for the first place car, 13 for the second place car. Not so much for the third place or the second place car, which just so happens to be outside of my number range, so it doesn't back me up. But it also gives you Pato O'Ward as the 5th place car. Now, listen, all I'm saying is that the top 2 are the ones that I'm really, really looking at in this instance, because as good as Pato O'Ward is, Pato O'Ward's not necessarily been all that great on this racetrack altogether. He did start the season off with a win at St. Petersburg this season, but again, it's just not necessarily been the best for Pato O'Ward on the Indianapolis circuit. So here's the thing, right? This is definitely going to come from these 2, in my opinion. And it does, like I said, give you Pato O'Ward as well. Indianapolis-wise, he's taken the track 4 times. He's got one. Actually, Pato O'Ward, 6th place, 4th place, 2nd place. I don't know what tab I was looking at, but a 2nd place finish in 2022, 4th place in 2021, 6th place in 2020. Again, Cody, you're right. It's late. When I'm clicking on the wrong tab to try to read off stats, this is why I need to write it down, right, Cody? But last year,
you always write down your notes, Rob.
Last year, he started 5th, led 39 laps, and ended up finishing 24th because he crashed out. That was a hell of a bad crash, too, for Pato. So he's got a shot to win this as well. I mean, he's starting deeper in the field. He's starting in an opportunity to where he's going to have to, like I said, get himself. He's starting 8th in the field. Where did 8th? 8th has 3 wins on this track. But again, and even Myron saying Pato O'Ward at 11-1. Dude's been close, just keeps making mistakes in the last 30 laps. I'm telling you, that's what we're hoping for. Daniel Moser saying Stenhouse won't be driving NASCAR this weekend. It's too late for him to try the Indy 500.
It is too late for him to try, but he will still be in the race. No fines or anything now, although that usually comes out on Tuesday. So we'll see if he gets fined. I would imagine his dad's hard card will be pulled for a bit, Rod.
I would say just here and there. There's not going to be much for him.
No Ricky Stenhouse Sr. for a bit.
No Ricky Stenhouse Sr. for a bit, and that's okay. I think it needs to cool down anyways. And then one last bet I'm going to toss in there because it's a plus money bet and it's just fun. Shout out to our buddies at Bet Rivers. They are giving us new winner, yes or no. I'm going to say no, plus 138. I already just talked about who I think is going to win this race over the next. So neither one of these guys are new to winning this race. Therefore, give me no new winner to win this. Bet Rivers, thank you. Plus 138.
Hey, Scott Dixon has won it before, Rod, so I do like that. And then, with your under 5.5, obviously it pigeonholes you to only a couple of cars, but in 3 of the top 5 favorites in the race, and you're getting it at a pretty good number at almost 2-1. I mean, put all of those guys together when they're all kind of the favorites there, I think that's a good way to go about it.
I agree. Well, then all that's left now is to crown our winners. I know that we've got a couple of folks in here. Shake these talking about Herta or VK winning this race. We'll see.
Let's see. Herta 12-1, man. He's so hard to ever pull an outright trigger on, Rod, because when you do, it's disappointing. VK 22-1, definitely worth a look. I'm going a couple of different directions, Rod. So breaking this up, again, you kind of first touchdown bet and really like kind of taking a lot of long shots. I already talked about Scott Dixon in the car lift, 20-1 over on BetMGM. Want to mention that again. Absolutely love Scott Dixon. He is my favorite outright this weekend, Rod. I was looking at the top of the board here. You got McLaughlin as a favorite. It's Newgarden, it's Larson, Power, O'Ward. I can make a solid case for any of these guys to win the race. I really can. And I was going back and forth. Do you just take Newgarden at plus 550? Are you overthinking it? Is this Scotty Mac's year? But those guys have had their bad breaks time and time again. I know Newgarden got it done last season, but only because we got a red flag with a lap to go and ran that extra lap. Like, I don't know. I just couldn't pull the trigger on any of these guys. And then Alex Palou sitting there at 12-1, Rod. I like some Alex Palou. Again, kind of like I talked about earlier with Dixon, not a lot of steam around him. So you kind of like that. Look, 28th in his first start here, not great. But since then, he's led 35 laps in all three races, at least 35 laps in all three races since then. Second place in 2021, ninth in 22, fourth in 23 last season. Palou has been really close to getting it done, Rod. Obviously, we know champion of the sport, kind of dominated everything. I mean, he locked up the championship, 3 or 4 races to go last season. And had a really good run to cap it off already this early into his young career that's been so successful with an Indy 500 win would be massive. Don't overlook these Chip Ganassi Hondas. I know how fast the Penske Chevys were, and I know how fast the Aero McLarens were, but these guys are here in these races. I think they're going to be just fine this weekend. So give me Alex Palou 12-1 over on BetMGM. Scott Dixon, like I mentioned. And then, Rod, it's going to toss out 2 long shot guys here. Look, we've had some long shots win this in the not too distant future, or not too distant past, and maybe in the very not too distant future when one of these guys wins it, right? Takuma Sato was 50-1. Elio was 33-1 last time he won it. Rossi was 66-1. It's not impossible for these long shots to win. Christian Lundgaard, because I'm rooting for it, Rod, 100-1. I made the case earlier, right? The stats don't necessarily back it up. We've seen this turn into fuel mileage. Maybe you get some crazy wreck at the end and he slips through. I don't know, strategy call, whatever it is. 100-1. Again, little pizza bet, whatever it is. Got to throw it out there. And Marcus Ericsson at 100-1. Now, he almost didn't even make this race, Rod. So I could see how you'd be like, why would you bet on this guy? But 100-1 for the guy who won this race 2 seasons ago and should have won it last year, but we throw the late red flag and he ends up kind of getting screwed at the end of things. Now, again, Chip Ganassi Honda, right? I get it. He's now moved on and he's over at Andretti, but he's at Andretti, not Joe Bob's Racing. Like, it's still an Andretti car. Wrecked his primary. He's in a backup and barely made the race. I get it. We saw it getting to him, right? He lifted after the third qualifying lap, forgot to take it on the fourth one. Then he squeezes it in with 3 minutes left to make the race. So he's got a long way to go. But at 100-1 for the guy who was first 2 seasons ago in victory lane and first with 2 laps to go last season, you got to throw just a little bit of something on there. It's not going to be an easy road for Marcus Ericsson. He's not just going to drive through the field, Kyle Larson-esque in NASCAR, run to the front, and just run away with this. But you got to put a little bit of something on him at 100-1 over on BetMGM just because of his recent performances here. Now he's going to have the chip on his shoulder. He's got nothing to lose going into this. Maybe it ends up being a strategy, a fuel mileage, whatever it is. They're going to have something. And 100-1, I think it's worth it. So Palou 12-1, Dixon 20-1, Lundgaard and Ericsson both at 100-1, Rod. Myron checking in, saying he's definitely sprinkling on Elio and Sato. The OGs know how to get around this joint. I agree, and actually looked very hard at both of those guys. That's why I wanted to work in the Sato top 10 at plus money, because I think that was good. He's 30-1 outright. Elio 45-1 is definitely very attractive. You know, he's now part of the ownership group over there at Meyer Shank. Trying to get that 5th one, Rod. Could get it done, maybe.
I don't know. You guys have a whole lot more.
Man, Rod's heavy on the Elio hate this week.
It's not that I hate it. It's just I'm looking at the numbers of where these guys are starting from, and very, very few times does it start where these guys are starting from.
Wow.
So,
you said very few, so you're telling me there's a chance.
Well, Joseph Newgarden proved that there was a chance last year, and definitely that's somewhere I'm leaning again this year, and not just from the fact that he started 17th and ended up winning the race, right? But listen, man, this guy was on a tear last season on all kinds of paved tracks, right? The oval tracks. You want to talk about dominating? He won at Fort Worth, right? He won on the Texas Motor Speedway. He won the Indianapolis 400 or 500. He won both Iowa races on back-to-back days. Oh, man, you want to talk about a guy that was just owning all of the ovals last season. that was definitely Joseph Newgarden. And not much has changed. I mean, obviously, from the run that he put together this year, he's still getting around these ovals like nobody's business. And at 5-1, here's the thing. And we talk about this when we talk about NASCAR as well. So if you're just joining us for Indy, when we talk about getting odds for these guys at 5-1, the favorite in most NASCAR races, sometimes when it gets to be like a Kyle Larson, you're talking like 4-1, maybe 3-1 in some cases, depending on what's going on. But you're getting last year's winner at 5-1 still. That is an obscene number. And I know in racing we get spoiled with our gigantic numbers and our mostly plus money bets. But if this is the Kansas City Chiefs to win the Super Bowl at 5-1, right? You're taking that because it seems insane to think that the guy. Listen,
Okay, you probably are.
As a 49er fan, it breaks my heart to even say that. But again, you're talking about the people that just did it and one of the strongest at the game of ovals, right? To win this race at 5-1. I'm not going to overthink it. I'm going to go ahead and lay 5-1 on Joseph Newgarden to get it done again back-to-back years. It's just that simple for me. If he doesn't do it, okay, but it's still 5-1. Like, that's a hell of a number. Then I'm also going to toss in a Newgarden and Larson Quinella. Don't want the exacta. I don't want it because I don't want all of a sudden Kyle Larson to win this race and me holding a bad exacta. So I'll take a Quinella. So either way, if Newgarden wins and Larson finished second, or if Larson wins and Newgarden finished second, then I'm a happy guy. A 10-1. So double up for Larson and Newgarden. Of course, we know, like I said, a rookie has not won this race in a very long time. The last rookie to win this race was Simon Pagenaud in 2019. Yeah. So it's been a couple of years, right? 5 years. That's a long time for me. That's a long time for a rookie to win this race. So I don't know that Kyle Larson could be that first rookie to win it. But if he is, and Newgarden comes in second, then let's go. You know what I'm saying? Like that's the kind of chance I'll take at 10-1 for either one of these drivers to win and the other one to finish second. I still feel strongly that Newgarden could get it done again. That dude's on fire on ovals and he always looks good. Yeah. So yeah, now he's starting in the front row. So he's going to be hell to pay, or he's going to be hell to deal with all race long. So yeah, give me that. And then give me the Quinella at 10-1 for Larson and Newgarden. That's just to have some fun. I mean, obviously, do I think Larson may finish second? No, but it'd be fun if he did and Newgarden won. So, and you're holding that Quinella ticket.
Again, to root for. I don't know if 10-1's big enough, but the Newgarden and it's plus 550 over on Caesar's Rod. So we're going to give you that as the official play. This really could just be, don't overthink it. Take the Oval King. He just finally broke the seal and poured the milk last season. Maybe he wins another one or 2 or 3 in a row. I mean, it could go crazy now that he's gotten it done. And really you could look back on this weekend and be like, can you believe we got that at plus 550? Because he's so obvious as the one. So way to not overthink it, because that's how I usually do, Rod. So appreciate that.
Yeah, you're welcome. Well, definitely overthinking it is taking McLaughlin at 5-1. I know that he's the pole, and I know the 21 times he's been for the pole, but
man, just like he's done so poorly in the Indy 500s, and like I don't need to have money on him to be happy to see him win, because I would love to see it. It'd be a great celebration. I'd be cheering for it even if I don't have money on it. But at only 5-1, oof, it is just not like, yeah, that's the one of these favorites I wouldn't even be able to talk myself into taking, I don't think.
Yep, I agree. But all right, get out your pen and paper. It is time to go over our bets for this Indianapolis 500 from the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Cody started you out with Scott Dixon as a top 3 car at plus 450. He drove the car lift on this one all the way up to the top 5 plus 275 on BetMGM, top 10 minus 120, top Honda at plus 420. Stop short of giving him out. Scott Dixon 21 as well. That was in the winner box, but yeah. I gave you all 3 of Alex Palou, Joseph Newgarden, and Kyle Larson to finish into the top 5 at 5-1. Cody gave you Carson Daly to win Group D on Caesars, which consists of Simpson.
Connor Daly, not Carson Daly.
It is.
If Carson Daly was in the race, I'd maybe consider it too. But
that'd be fantastic. Let me get this prescription checked. Connor Daly, to win Group D. You know what it was? I watched Josie and the Pussycats a while back. Carson Daly's on that one, so he's still fresh in my mind. Connor Daly to win Group D on Caesars at plus 260. Simpson, Grosjean, Rahal, all in that group. And then, of course, giving you a top 10 at 5-1. I said Alex Palou would be the top Honda at plus 330. Also said Marcus Ericsson could have that at 28-1 as well. Cody gave you Ferrucci as a top 10 car at minus 125 and tossed in Sato as well at plus 140 in the top 10. I said Alexander Rossi would be a top 5 car at plus 130. Cody gave you the winning car number to be odd at minus 108. I said Ferrucci would win Group B at plus 230. Sato, Kirkwood, Rosenquist, and Castroneves in that one as well. Cody gave you Larson to win both the Indy 500 and the Coke 600 at plus 40.25, so 40-1 on Caesars, and then tossed in Lundgaard as a top 10 car at 4-1. I said the winning car number would be under 5.5 at plus 190, and I said that there will not be a new winner of this race at plus 138. Cody said Palou at 12-1, Dixon at 20-1, Lundgaard at 100-1, and Ericsson at 100-1 as the race winners. I said Newgarden at plus 550, and then tossed in the Newgarden and Larson Quinella at 10-1. It's Indy 500, baby. I can't wait to watch this race.
So excited, Rod. I'm pumped up for it. And hey, again, Sunday, you're going to start off with the Monaco Grand Prix, get some coffee going in the morning, watch that. Then you switch over to Indy. Then we're going to watch Kyle Larson's helicopter and airplanes as he gets to Charlotte, finish the day off with the Coke 600. And we've also got Truck Series, Xfinity Series earlier in the week. So it's a loaded weekend of racing, and I'm pumped.
I am absolutely pumped. And I blame you because I was not this heavy into Indy a couple of seasons ago. You definitely have gotten me full on into Indy, and my entire family, if they're still around, thanks you, because I don't know. I don't ever get to get out from behind the television anymore. So if they're still there, hi, I love you. I'll see you soon.
Hope you're watching on YouTube. So
hope you're watching on YouTube. That's anytime. Say hi to Daddy, everybody. He's on YouTube still. Anyways, yeah. So let's go ahead and end this so I can go see them real quick before I get to work the next day and break down the rest of these races for you.
There you go, Rod. Well, make sure you go to sportsgamblingpodcast.com/race. That's where you can enter our contest. Again, it's completely free, like everything else on this network. And you're going to get entered to win that Kyle Larson diecast pack. It's got his Indy car. It's got his Cup Series car, and it'll be autographed by him as well. So great deal over there. All you got to do, you're picking the 3 winners, basically, of the 3 races without Max, obviously, in the F1 portion of things. And, again, it'll be scored. We talked about it on yesterday's show. So go back if you want to listen to the official rules. Sportsgamblingpodcast.com, Rod, is where you can find a lot of my work. Also share it over on the X at Husker_Zeeb. I have an Indy article out. It's got all the odds if you want to look at those, as well as a couple other bets that I didn't touch on today. So make sure you check that out. A ton of other articles coming out for the site this week. F1 stuff, underdog stuff, NASCAR stuff. There's some NFL things I got out over there as well. So very, very busy and having a great time. We'll be back tomorrow with the Cup Series picks for the Coca-Cola 600. So make sure you come back and join us there.
Yes, indeed. Follow me on Twitter at RJ Villagomez. I'll never call it X. I am there with all of my stuff. There's a link in the bio to all of it, whether it's here, whether it's Sportsbook Review, where I've got an IndyCar article myself coming out. And, of course, in between media, check out the Back Road with Seth and Elliot. So much going on this week, and we're going to be here for it all. We love you. Thanks for sticking with us. If you're an IndyCar listener, come back tomorrow, listen to this Coke 600, win some money there with us as well. In the meantime, everybody, good night, good morning, good day, however it is you listen to this. We'll see you tomorrow. Let's go racing and let it ride.